What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon. I'm back at you, another one, and this one is from Season 4, Episode 5, Ending Explained. In this video, I will break down the whole episode, give you all the Easter eggs you might have missed that lead to exactly all the things that we found out about in this episode, and also what they mean going forward. We got Jade saying that he knows exactly how to get everybody home, which means the clues of that should be in this episode. I will tell you exactly what he thinks he needs to do to get them home from the clues that we got in this episode, and why I believe he's 100% wrong in thinking that. Let's get right into it. We pick up with Jade and Boyd, and the mushrooms are finally starting to set in. They finally start to doing its work. And the first clue we get is outside, and we see the hotel sign has been changed. The sign says answers, vacancy, pool, and to travel this way down the road, and it makes you think that if he wants those answers for what's vacant inside of his head, for him to remember all those things, he needs to walk down this whole path, and that's where he'll get all the answers from. I think it's something else that's going to go on with this whole sign. I will break it down at the end of this, why I think it's something different, that he was being led astray sort of for this, but that is what the sign is trying to tell them. After this, Jade then starts to hallucinate spiders. Now, these are the exact same spiders that Boyd ran into with Sarah while he was searching for the lighthouse. And we know his tent was dragged right before this whole situation came about. And when they got out is when they finally found the lighthouse. We'll come back to that in a little bit. But Jade sees all the visions of the spiders, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they're showing him the spiders. Spiders are supposed to be the protector of the Lake of Tears. And although spiders seem scary, I think that they're actually going to help when it's all said and done. After this is when we see Jade throw up for the first time, and then he asks the question finally for them to show him in his brain already what he needs to know for them to all go home. And that's what he should have asked from the beginning. But when he does this is when he finds his younger self. And when he sees his younger self, he tells the story about his grandmother and how he had to play this song, but he knew when he stopped that she would be dead. And he always wanted to keep playing that song. But after he sees this, he sees the man with the pick in his eye. Boyd convinces him to drink out of the skull. At the bottom of the skull, when we see it, once again, we see some more spiders. Now, this is very important, and they didn't just put this here to put that there. There's a severe meaning behind it. I'll wrap that up when I get to the end of this section. But Jade then throws up all of the blood, and then we see him see all the past visions of himself on the steps of the Colony House. They could have picked anywhere they did it, but they did it at the Colony House. So let's go through all of them. First, we see Christopher and Jade, and we could tell here that Christopher got his throat chopped open. Now, we were told the story that Christopher was the one who went crazy, but evidently Christopher did not go crazy. That story from Victor is false. Then we see the guy that Jade seen in episode 1 who went inside the root cellar, who scared him, crushed by a boulder. Now, I don't know how this guy was murdered. I thought he was stuck from a faraway tree, but I guess they're trying to say that the town threw a boulder at him. I don't understand that. Really don't. Let me know in the comment section if you get it. Then we see the guy who gave Jade the blood, and we see that he was stabbed through the eye. But everybody in this place that we have seen, all versions of Jade, as soon as he tells them exactly everything that he knows, when he gives the information, and we have been telling people from the beginning of time, these people need to talk more. But I guess evidently they don't need to talk more. The Civil War soldier, I think, gets stabbed in the stomach because we seen him stab Jade in the stomach when he was down by the tree. So, when it's all said and done with the Civil War guy and Jade and everybody else, he needs to keep his mouth shut. But let's break down all the things that we just seen and I'll tell you exactly what it means. When Jade's younger self tells him that the people in this town are minnows in a shark net, it means 100% that this whole town, the whole setup, everything that happens in this town were set up for two people, and that's Jade and Tabitha. Everybody else who gets caught up in this net are just people who were supposed to go through it, as a shark net has a lot of big holes, so smaller fish can just get through. But sometimes when the big sharks start thrashing about, the smaller fish get caught in the net. And not only that, once they figure out that the reason that they're actually in this place is directly because of them, this is what causes them to lash out and fight back and try to kill the sharks in order for them to get out of this whole thing, because they would not have been in this net if they weren't trying to catch a shark to begin with. The skull is the most interesting thing we see here. The skull represents consciousness, memory, and the past. And because we've seen all the dead versions of Jade, it means that every time that he has died here, all these memories, all these things he's done in the past have all been stored in this skull. The blood represents the life force of this town. The blood filling the skull shows that this entire history of this place, the foundation has built on blood, built on slaughter, most likely the slaughter of the children. And for Jade to see the truth, he literally has to consume or confront this blood. It means the only way out is for him to acknowledge exactly what he did in the past. And that is why we see him throw the blood up when he drinks it. When we continue with Jade, we see that the younger Jade then takes him inside of the colony house. When they go inside of the colony house, he goes to the basement where there is a secret door that has been buried by trash. Now, I think that this door is going to be something that they have already built over top of. But Jade does go inside of this, and when he goes inside of this is when he is confronted by the monsters. And the interesting thing is, this is when the younger version of Jade walks away from him. And I think they walk away from him because they're embarrassed of him. And all the monsters know exactly who Jade is. Because in the end, what's going to be is that Jade and Tabitha are the reason that these people did what they did. It was Jade and Tabitha who convinced them to do this. And that is why he sees the kid inside of the grave. He is the one with Tabitha. They are the ones who sacrificed the children and convinced everybody in town to go along and follow suit and put them in this position where they are at. So Jade and Tabitha are essentially the bad people in this story. And we'll get back to why Jade believes that he's figured out a way how to get out of here after we're done with this. Tabitha and the rag dolls. Probably the most interesting part of this whole episode. As we see them fish out all these rag dolls, Donna says we need to put them back in the water. She tries to weigh them down and throw them back in. But the interesting thing is how Tabitha remembers them. When she was a child, she had these rag dolls. They were taken away by a man who said the dolls gave him nightmares. So he threw them in the water. Immediately after this man died, that is when these dolls came to life. And we see them come to life again in the show, this episode, and we see them take the dude out who found them, rip his jaw out. This is when I thought Donna was definitely going to be dead. Somehow she survived. I don't know how, especially after she talked to Ethan, and Ethan was saying like, oh, it's so much better when you're here. I thought Donna was a goner. Somehow she survived as Tabitha stabbed one of these scarecrow dolls, and the other one with his flaming hands just walked off into the sunset. Tabitha's story about her childhood dolls reveals that the nightmare manifestation rule isn't new. It has been happening for a very long time, possibly even before the children's original sacrifice. So when Tabitha has these dolls and the man says that they give him nightmares, throws them into the lake, the exact moment the man dies, that suppression of this nightmare fails. The nightmare is then unlocked. The dolls come to life, grow in size, and become physical monsters. This mirrors Nathan's phobia perfectly. Back in season 2, Sarah explicitly said that Nathan was absolutely terrified of cicadas. He had a deep-seated phobia of them. Nathan is killed in season 1 accidentally by Sarah, and shortly after his death, the cicadas suddenly manifest in the town, screaming through the walls, attacking people. When you stack these things together, you can see that the show is laying down a concrete law on how these monsters and curses all arrived in Fromville. The entity or the force controlling the town doesn't just create monsters from random. It uses the human mind as a blueprint. If a resident has a specific intense terror of cicadas or these doll-like creatures, that fear is being recorded by the overseer. When the person who carries that intense fear dies, the town takes that recorded blueprint and manifests it into a permanent physical threat for the surviving residents. By drawing this parallel, you can see exactly why the stakes are as high as they are right now. If every time a core character dies, the worst nightmare will be unleashed on this town. So we have to ask ourselves, what was Jim's worst nightmare? Or anybody else who dies, because that is what's going to happen. And that is the reason why all these creatures are called nightmare creatures. Because at some point, every one of these creatures was somebody else's nightmare. And that's why they were manifested in this way. So that means somebody was afraid of a milkman at one point in their life that was in this town. Somebody else may have been afraid of getting married, and that's why we see the bride over here. That is why all these creatures are called the nightmare creatures, because they are physical manifestations of somebody who was in this town and passed away. Worst nightmare. People have fear of nurses, they have fear of hospitals, people have fear of a lot of things. Each one of these things are one of these creatures. We didn't get a lot about Sophia, but what we did get is very significant. We get the ability of her touching somebody. And the fact that she can touch somebody, we've already seen that she was able to put somebody in like a coma-like state. But now we can see that she touches somebody, she can also give that person traumatic memories implanted into their head. And we see her do this to Marielle. But what is important is when we see Marielle and she goes inside of the ambulance and she gets locked up in there, we actually see 2 dates that come up on the screen. And the dates are 1609 and 1752. Now in my older videos, I told you that 1609, that date represented the starving time. I linked that date to the brutal winter of 1609 to 1610 in the Jamestown colony, historically known as the starving time, when extreme starvation led to desperate measures, including cannibalism, which is something that we see the man in yellow personally do. The 1752 date I linked to the Great Britain and the American colonies switching their calendar from the Julian calendar. To fix the timeline drift, 11 days were completely erased from history. September 2nd was immediately followed by September 14th. I theorize that the lost time structure manipulation of reality perfectly mirrors how the town operates outside of normal time and space. Historically, it also aligns with the French and Indian era, suggesting a period of mass bloodshed and conflict in the American wilderness that fed the town's dark forces, as I said in that video. And I'll put a link at the end of this video so you can go watch it, that everything that we see in this town has been a tragedy that's being repeated by the man in yellow in order to have the greatest tragedies that he either participated in or he is fascinated by and tries to recreate in this town. And we see that because we hear Sophia tell Marielle that she is some type of prophet. And on one of the dates inside of the lighthouse, is 1978, and that is the Jonestown tragedy, where over 900 people lost their lives after being forced by cult leader Jim Jones into drinking cyanide-laced punch. And we can see here that how Sophia plans on trying to manipulate the town into fighting against each other and tearing each other apart. We have all seen this season the plan of the man in yellow, and that is to drive a wedge into these people. And it seems that all he has to do is to get them to remember that Jade and Tabitha are the reason that they are all caught up in here, and that is when they tear each other apart. Now, when we seen the original massacre, it did look like the monsters did it, but it could be initially before that happened, the town residents killed each other, and then the monsters or he came in there and ate all the corpses when it was all said and done. Most likely, that's how it goes. So as long as people don't be dropping dime, but we know that's what's going to happen. We know that 100% is going to be talked about what Boyd did to Elgin. And if somehow Marielle does believe that she's got some type of psychic power and people follow her, then she can put images in her brain to get people to do certain things and follow them. And eventually, when it all comes out, they will massacre Jade and Tabitha, and Boyd and them will try to stop them, and that's how everyone falls apart. But I think Boyd and them do have the upper hand in this whole situation since they have the guns and the bullets, something I don't think the other Jade and Tabitha had to protect themselves when it's all said and done. So you can see the real importance of why Victor's father had to be brought in here. We see him so depressed that he lost his wife, and he lost his wife in such a brutal way. We seen Tabitha want to tell him already that she was his wife reincarnated, and she's going to say this to try to help this man out, and that's what's going to spread the whole Tabitha and Jade thing when it's all said and done. Fatima's golem and these scarecrow creatures might be able to be taken control of and then used to fight against the monsters. That's what I'm thinking, but I'll talk about that in a later video. This is going on a little bit too long, but put your comments in the comment section. I want to hear from you. I'll be live tonight. Give me a call, me and Phil, and tell us what you think. And if you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, spread this across the realm, and of course subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.